Hello Enviro friends! In this lesson, I will provide tips to help you identify the research gap that will lead you to your research questions and hypotheses, which are essential components of the introduction section of your manuscript. This crucial step is the heart of your manuscript or research project, so it's essential to invest time and energy in discovering the research gap. Identifying the research gap inspires creative concepts for your manuscript, leading to eventual publication. So let's jump right into today's lesson, shall we? In the second Academic Writing and Publishing 101 lesson, we started reviewing the manuscript's content using the free template. In this lesson, we will start discussing the introduction section. The introduction provides background information on the topic, explains the study's significance, and outlines the research questions or hypotheses it aims to address. I've divided the introduction into a few lessons as this section plays a crucial role in your manuscript, so stay tuned for the upcoming parts of the video. Before starting your manuscript, it's essential to define its purpose. This journey begins by identifying the research gap that highlights the significance of the study. By now, you have immersed yourself in numerous peer-reviewed articles, gaining a foundational understanding of your field. So how can you discover that important research gap? First, let's define what is a research gap and why is it so important. When you want to publish your work, you plan to introduce and establish yourself among fellow researchers. Your goal is to engage in the academic conversation. If you have a general understanding of your field, but feel that something is missing, something not yet addressed by your peers, that's the research gap. This represents a missing link in the academic dialogue, and by identifying it, you will highlight the importance of your study, securing your place in history. You will now have an innovative idea, an original insight, which you can contribute to the field, and you can begin writing your manuscript. With your manuscript, you will address the gap in research. The research gap gives you a new idea that highlights opportunities for advancing your field. Don't worry if you don't stumble upon a groundbreaking discovery right away. Those moments can be pretty rare and hard to come by. You will still be able to identify research gaps, such as unstudied areas. When a new concept or idea hasn't been investigated at all, or where current knowledge is insufficient. Outdated information or methodology, which necessitating updated studies, or you find inconsistencies. This is something that is still missing or remains unclear, or previous studies may have produced contradictory results, or some studies indicating that further research is needed to resolve uncertainties. And there are always limitations, for instance in techniques, time, equipment, and much more. Let me show you some examples of research gaps. I need to clarify that I didn't write these articles, I didn't participate in the research, and I don't know the authors. I'm showing you the same articles I presented to you earlier. So let's take a look at the first article. The title is Hybrid AI Enhanced Lightning Flash Prediction in the Medium Range Forecast Horizon. So let's take a moment to the introduction section. Nowadays, lightning forecasts are based on parameterization, schemes encoded in the numerical weather prediction models. For instance, deterministic prediction model based on partial differential equations. So they start to talk about lightning forecast techniques. And then they moved on and said in the mid-2018, the European Centre for Medium Range Weather Forecast introduced lightning flash density forecast on a global scale. Again, continuing with the lightning forecasts, weather forecasts, then this part is the most interesting. They say, however, this analysis was limited to a period of only 3 months, during which only intense and frequent lightning activity occurred. So they talk about a previous study which had limitations, a research gap. Then they suggest alternative strategies to deal with the issue of forecasting exploit statistical and artificial intelligence AI-based predictions. And they describe what were the alternatives. Then they describe the AI-based strategies have been widely used recently to predict lightning occurrences only a few hours ahead, which is called nowcasting. Only a few hours ahead. So current lightning prediction techniques only are able to predict lightning before it occurs only a few hours ahead. That's another gap in the research. So they slowly started to move toward the research gap. What is the gap they're trying to fill in? So what is missing and needs to be fulfilled? And here it is. The vast majority of existing AI-based lightning forecast strategies are thus fully data-driven, and the focus is restricted slowly to nowcasting. Nowcasting, that's a limitation. This is a serious limitation in view of the many vital applications related to forecasting lightning flashes some days in advance. What they want is not only a few hours ahead prediction, but some days in advance. There is thus a research gap within the current body of literature. How they want to fulfill to the research gap is their objective. To contribute to filling this gap, we present a deep learning framework, here referred to as FlashNet, able to forecast the lightning flash occurrence up to 48 hours ahead in terms of binary classifications. Now let's take a look at the other example. So a high molecular weight isosorbide-based polyxylates, copolyesters, bio and carbon dioxide-based marine degradable high-performance polyesters. So at the introduction section, they immediately jump into that at the moment almost all of plastics are produced from fossil-based resources, and they want to move toward a more sustainable future, replacing the fossil-based plastic with novel bio-based plastics. But apparently these bio-PE and bio-PET can only compete on carbon footprint and the price, so they prefer their improved properties include high glass transition temperatures, good mechanical strength, and good barrier properties they collected from other studies. And then they jump into what was their focus, their objective focused on novel carbon dioxide and bio-based plastics from oxalate esters and isosorbide. Then the rest of the part of the introduction, they explaining a lot of chemical and mechanical properties, mostly chemical properties of the proposed plastics. And then here they said that despite the availability of diphenyl oxalate, its use as a monomer for polyxylate polyesters has been rather unexplored. This has been rather unexplored. This is a research gap. And they say, except for their own research group, no other literature was found utilizing this strategy. Since other strategies didn't obtain sufficiently high molecular weight isosorbide-based polyxylates, little is known about the physical and medical properties of this substance and its copolymers. This is the research gap highlighted. Then, toward the end of the introduction, they explaining how they want to address. Now, let me share some tips on how you can identify the research gap and generate an innovative idea for your manuscript. First, you can identify research gaps in published articles. You can examine the limitations of the study and the future investigations the author suggested at the end of the manuscript. Here in this article, for instance, The authors suggested that at present, the availability of biodegradable, bio-based polymers possessing mechanical and barrier qualities that can rival conventional petroleum-based plastics is limited. So that is something that needs further investigation. Another example I showed you previously is they showed that with lightning prediction technique, that they came across an attempt documented in conference proceedings, which, however, doesn't allow for detailed information extraction, so they have a limit there. This limits the possibility of doing comparisons of our strategy with other AI-enhanced forecast approaches. You can also come down and read the conclusion section, or in this case, the discussion section, and find out what needs further investigation. Like, for instance, here they said a further line of generalization for their work is to incorporate observed features alongside those extracted from model forecasts to further enhance the quality of lightning predictions, specifically for short-term temporal horizons. So they want to add more features the next time they're using this technique, the extraction, to enhance the quality of their prediction. They also mentioning that additional aerosol related features also merit attention in order to more effectively elucidate lightning mechanism as demonstrated in their reference. So they suggest more further features that can be added to improve their model. So this can be an identified research gap. Alternatively, you can identify the research gap by asking questions like, this was an interesting article, but why they didn't study this or do that. So when there's an unanswered questions or unresolved problem that the current studies haven't addressed, it presents an opportunity for new research to contribute to the body of knowledge. Another important step is in identifying research gaps is to stay informed about the latest trend and interest in your field of study. Also, another suggestion, if you want to publish in a particular journal but don't know what to write, visit the website of the journal and then go down to the call for papers on the journal website to get an idea where to start finding a research gap. If you don't have a particular journal in your mind, you can also just browse and refine your subject area, like I did here, environmental science and engineering, or just environmental science in general, and then look out for what is the discussion currently is interested about, what they want to ask researchers to carry out as a study. To keep yourself up to date on your field of expertise, you can also check future conferences and to get an idea of the latest interest of your field of expertise. Also, you can check some websites for the latest news and interest and emerging trends in your field of study. And it's important to stay up to date on topics and know the latest interests, developments, trends, and more related to your area of interest. Google Patents can be a good platform too to discover patents related to inventions, technologies, and innovations. That's all for this lesson. Let me know if you would like more information about identifying the research gap or if you need additional examples. I hope you find today's class content beneficial and the lesson insightful. Please feel free to post your questions and concerns in the comments. I hope to have you in the next lesson where I will share some tips to help you define the problem statement and generate research questions. See you all in the 4th Academic Writing and Publishing 101 lesson.